Three Guys in a Flick podcast. Hey, Don, Ken, and John. This is Johnny Rico from Starship Troopers, Casper Van Dien. You guys are going to do a review of Starship Troopers. Definitely give it 3 bugs up. Hope you guys have a great time.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
This is for all you new people. I only have one rule. Everybody fights, no one quits. If you don't do your job, I'll kill you myself. Welcome to the Roughnecks. Welcome back. You are listening to Three Guys in a Flick. This is where we review the good, the bad, and the absurd. Tonight's episode, Starship Troopers. Beware spoilers. Coming to you from a military base on Clanduth. Oh, shit. You hear that? The bugs are coming. We got to do this quick. My name is Don. And to my right, we have our comic book guy, John.
Kill them! Kill them all!
And to my left, we have the Professor, Ken.
Hello, everybody.
How you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing not too bad. Not too bad. What about you there, guy? How are you doing?
I think I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah?
It's a brand new year.
It is a brand new year, and tonight we are starting off with Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers comes to us from one of our listeners, Ashley P. She graciously put it into the Bronco helmet for us last year, I think, and Professor, you pulled it out.
Pulled it out.
This fucking guy already starting. Professor, it's okay. Quit shaking your head. Professor, had you seen Starship Troopers?
Yeah, I've seen Starship Troopers several times.
And do you like Starship Troopers?
It's a guilty pleasure.
Yeah? Excellent.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get into it. Comic book guy, have you... What am I saying? Of course you've seen Starship Troopers. Let's see. Spaceships, aliens, big guns, and boobs? Yeah, you've seen it.
Boobs.
What about you?
Yes, I too have seen Starship Troopers. So yeah.
I just feel like this is the perfect date movie.
Interesting take.
Has all the elements.
Which are?
Romance, intrigue.
Eviscerations.
Happy endings.
Wow, I never thought about it that way. But now maybe I will see it in a whole new light. I'm assuming, and we all know what happens when I assume, Ashley put this into the Bronco helmet because she likes this movie or she just wants to hear us review it. So that being said, Ashley, I hope we do this movie justice and enjoy. Released on November 7th, 1997, Starship Troopers was directed by Paul Verhoeven, written by Edward Neumeier, based on the book Starship Troopers by Robert H. Heinlein. And it stars Casper Van Dien, Dina Meyer, Denise Richards, Jake Busey, Neil Patrick Harris, Patrick Muldoon, Michael Ironside, and a bunch of other arachnids.
How do you not include Clancy Brown?
I'm just going by with what I'm reading, so when you direct that question, look across the table.
How do you not include Clancy Brown?
He wasn't listed in Wikipedia where I grabbed it from, but you're absolutely right. I will take the flogging.
There you go.
Lay down on this, son. It helps. I know.
1, 2, 3, 4. Sir, how'd this movie do? Sir.
Sir, this movie was made for $110 million and brought in $121 million. Sir.
I found that surprising when I first looked that up to show that it did not do well early at the box office. And I guess it's because people didn't get that it was supposed to be a satirical look at war and fascism and all that. And they thought it was actually a pro-war, pro-army kind of recruitment type film.
It only made $54 million in the box office that year.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it was a flop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they say that about the war propaganda, pro and versus. However, it's just not that good of a movie. And, 1997.
Well, you have the number 1 grossing and the number 2 grossing movies that year are creature features.
which were, sir.
Men in Black. Men in Black grossed worldwide 250 million, and then you have The Lost World, Jurassic Park at number 2, and it made 229 million worldwide.
Oh, there you go, going up against Spielberg twice. So, yeah.
You know, it's funny that you say that this was not a great movie. It was not a well-made movie. When I first saw it, I would agree with you 100%. It's just action, gore, kind of an over-the-top, just movie that's fun to watch, but not the best acting, not the best writing. You know, the CGI is great, but it's not the most believable movie. Now that I go back, you know, and I never thought about it the first time I saw it, of the messages that the director and the writers were putting into this movie about fascism, about war, I kind of see the movie in a different light and kind of appreciate it for what the director was going for. So I actually think it was a well-made movie.
Oh.
By the subtle hints that, I'll actually read something. In a 2014 interview on the Adam Carolla show, Michael Ironside asked the director Paul Verhoeven, who grew up in a Nazi-occupied Netherlands, "Why are you making a right-wing fascist movie?" To which Verhoeven replied, "If I tell the world that a right-wing fascist way of doing things doesn't work, then no one will listen to me. So I'm going to make the perfect fascist world. Everything is beautiful. Everyone is beautiful. Everyone is shiny. Everything has big guns and fancy ships, but it's only good for fucking killing bugs." And I thought, you know what? When you break it down, that's really what he did. And that's why I kind of appreciate this movie in a brand new light.
The writer, Edward Neumeier, he is also the writer for RoboCop. And for the most part, I feel like I could see a lot of parallels with the sardonic humor, the over-the-top gore that we get in Starship Troopers as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Especially, too, the little news segments, the way they intersperse that in. I kind of felt that vibe, that RoboCop vibe as well.
Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Speaking of Paul Verhoeven and RoboCop, do you guys have a favorite movie directed by him?
Showgirls.
Well, of course, Showgirls.
I think out of all of those, Total Recall or RoboCop would probably be my favorite.
Yeah, same here. You know, I felt like that's kind of sort of his sweet spot was Total Recall, because you had RoboCop in 87, you had Total Recall in 1990, and then you had Basic Instinct in 92. I feel like that was probably his high point. And I do like Starship Troopers, which is, 1997. And I never watched Hollow Man, the Kevin Bacon Invisible Man story. Did either of you guys ever see that one?
I think I saw it way back when, but I couldn't tell you anything about it.
I've seen it a couple times, and I think in that movie, Kevin Bacon does a good job playing a villain, but it's not the most memorable movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Of his movies, I would probably lean towards RoboCop. It's just such a different take on a movie that it really stands out to me.
Let's talk about this cast a little bit.
Casper Van Dien. What'd you guys think of him in the role of Johnny Rico?
I thought he was passable. When you look at the cast and everyone who's in it, the only ones that really kind of have done anything are Denise Richards, Neil Patrick Harris, Michael Ironside, and Clancy Brown. Casper Van Dien, I think at the time in the 90s, was trying to be one of the next action heroes. But I think where his strength lies is in his jawline. So he does go on to become a B-movie action hero. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he's had a pretty good career as far as careers go.
Yeah, the way I feel is the director was basically on the budget of an A-listed movie was trying to make, a traditional B-rated movie. And I bet you, if anything, if we were to talk to Casper, he was encouraged to really ham it up, to really just play this part of a guy who's, naive in the beginning and, really into the military and all that. And just because he was really going for the satirical look at the military, almost making fun of the military a little bit. So I think he probably really pushed Casper Van Dien to ham it up. And if that was the case, I thought he did a good job with that role.
It doesn't make the acting better.
No, and I don't think this movie was going for any kind of acting awards. I think they purposely tried to overact it.
Yeah, but the acting has to be able to hold you to the story.
Yeah.
So, at least that's how I see it.
Do you have any?
What'd you think there, bud?
This is the only movie that I know him for. So I can't compare him to anything else, but I thought he was fine in this.
Yeah. What about Denise Richards? What did you guys think of Carmen?
I didn't think much of her in this movie. She just kind of played this monotone character whose emotions really didn't change until like the end of the movie, you know, when she had her few scenes at the end. Otherwise, she was just off doing her own thing.
Oh, yeah. I have never thought that she was a great actress by any stretch of the imagination. Eye candy, maybe?
She was offered a nude scene. In fact, the director pushed her to do a nude scene, but it wasn't in the initial contract for her to do it. He wanted to do a love scene that was added later. She didn't think it added to the story, so she refused to do it.
Right. What do you think?
Denise Richards, she's really pretty to look at, but other than that, you know, she's just a standard character.
Yeah.
I thought Dina Meyer didn't do a horrible job. And yes, her acting, you know, is just like on par with almost everybody else, but her nonverbal cues throughout the movie of looking at Johnny Rico and kind of being off in the distance, if you watched her in the distance, kind of longing towards him, you got what she was, you know, the impression, or you understood what she was trying to say without saying anything. So I thought her nonverbal cues were really well done in this movie.
Well, there you go.
Do you have any opinion on her?
I thought she was fine. I was trying to think what else I knew her from, but I couldn't come up with it.
She was in Saw 3, I think.
2.
Was it 2? Okay.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah. She's done a few things here and there.
Yeah, and, you know, the boner she has over Johnny is very obvious, and it's only a matter of time before, you know, what happens. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. She's all right.
I have no opinions about her. I don't know her from anything else. I don't know Casper, Dina, Jake from anything else.
Right. Neil Patrick Harris, one of his first adult roles, I guess. You know, he's coming off of Doogie. Goes on to do How I Met Your Mother. I'm a big NPH fan. What do you guys think of him in this role?
Underutilized.
Completely. I agree with you.
He seemed to play a good, I guess, well, they were going for a Nazi, but...
With the black leather jacket,
Yeah,
he totally looked like a Nazi.
Well, that was on purpose. The director was trying to give them outfits that looked like Nazi uniforms.
Yeah.
But we didn't get enough of him. You know, he's so good, I think, in so many other roles and so many other movies that at this point you don't even get a feel for how his acting is.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it, John, that he's underutilized because his charisma on screen works.
Agreed. And then, you know, rounding out the Roughnecks, you got Gary Busey's kid, Jake Busey, who looks just like him, right? He was a passable side character, buddy, tag-along type of character.
He actually learned to play the violin for this movie.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's one of the things I kind of scratched my head about. You have this big thing of recreational supplies and a violin is in there. Mm-hmm. But, hey, $21.97. What are you going to do? And then you have Michael Ironside.
Which you can't go wrong with Michael Ironside. But I guess technically you can, because does he ever play a different role?
No. That's who Michael Ironside is.
He's always that. I mean, when you watched him in the V series and Total Recall and any other movie, he's just always that kind of same character.
Yeah. He is that character, and I buy him in that character, and he was one of the high points in this movie for me.
He does it well.
Yeah, he's great. Him and Clancy Brown, speaking of which,
mm-hmm.
you know, I forgot he was in it, and I thought he did great. But he's always a great kind of brute, I'm a kick your ass kind of guy.
I think I love Clancy Brown in just about everything he's been in.
Sure.
Clancy Brown's awesome. Yeah. I totally love him as the drill sergeant.
Yeah, so good.
We almost got, I guess, Mark Wahlberg as Rico.
I'm so glad we did not. And then because Verhoeven does Basic Instinct, you almost get Michael Douglas as Mr. Rashak. That could have been a different take.
I could almost see that, a younger Michael Douglas kind of playing that role.
A little bit. You know, age or roughing him up a little. You know, be that roughneck guy.
But I still think Ironside would have done a better job.
Agreed. He does do a better job.
He does.
Yeah.
Then yeah.
Agreed.
So this comes from, we mentioned earlier, comes from a book version. I'm guessing neither of you have ever read the book.
Did you read the book?
No, I did not.
Okay.
But I did read enough about the book that I understand some little elements about it. This movie was meant to be, as we said, it's supposed to be kind of looking at the overtop idea of fascism and why it's wrong and what it could lead to and all the problems in society it could lead to without throwing it in your face. The book was just the opposite. It was to basically say that this country needs more fascism, and a lot of people accused it of being propaganda to get people to join the army. And the author originally felt that citizens were too lazy for the rights that they are allowed, and that really only people who serve the country should have any rights in this country. So it's interesting that they took a book from that perspective and turned it into almost the opposite of kind of saying that we need less fascism. There were some differences between the book and the movie.
No way.
Yeah, there were just a few. I mean, a lot of it they're saying still the same story of the bugs.
That happens?
That never happens.
Books are different than movies?
But Dizzy was a boy.
Oh, wow.
There was no relationship with Carmen. She was just everybody's friend.
Everyone's friend.
And one of the interesting parts of the book I thought was interesting was in the beginning, just like in the movie, Rico's father doesn't want him to join the army, but after Buenos Aires gets bombed, Rico's father joins the army and serves under Rico.
Well, there you go. So this movie was up for a couple of awards. At the Academy Awards, it was nominated for Best Visual Effects, but it lost to Titanic, as everything did that year. And wasn't it nominated for Worst Movie of the Year?
Yeah, some award like Stinker of the Year.
And what did it lose to?
Batman and Robin.
You know what? I don't give a fuck what anyone says. I'll watch me some Batman and Robin. But it has Uma as Poison Ivy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, please, and thank you. The three guys asked Casper Van Dien to share an experience from the set of Starship Troopers. Here's what he had to say.
You know, there was one day I was out on the set, and I was working with Paul Verhoeven. I'm looking over, there's 1,400 extras, and it was the big drop ship sequence, and we were out in Hell's Half Acre near Casper, Wyoming. And I looked over, and behind the camera, there is Paul Verhoeven, the director of RoboCop, Ed Neumeyer, the writer of RoboCop, John Davison, the producer of RoboCop, and Phil Tippett, the visual effects genius, super genius, behind RoboCop. And I was looking, and I was thinking, God, my name is number one on the call sheet, and Peter Weller was number one on RoboCop, so I'm Murphy. And I'd buy that for $1. I'm grateful that you guys are doing a review for it. I can't wait to see. Tag me. I'll retag and post it if it's positive. If it's not, I'm going to fucking hunt you guys down and kill you, because that's what I do. I'm just known for that. Murder. Because I'll just think you guys are bugs. Fresh meat for the grinder.
Thanks again to Johnny Rico. We appreciate it. As many of you heard last week, I won the Master of Movie Trivia for the year 2023, so I will be taking over as Game Master for this year, so you both are now at my mercy. I will be asking you 5 questions, 5 questions only. A lot of the questions are multiple points, so, keep that in mind. And please wait until I finish asking the question, and please put away all your notes. That just happened. Question number 1. What is the name of the bug's home planet?
Kalathu.
Point to John. Question number 2. This isn't the first Michael Ironside movie we've reviewed. Name the other character's name he's played and in what movie.
We haven't done Total Recall. What other movie have we done with him in? I got nothing.
Having a clue.
Jester. Top Gun. Question number 3. Clancy Brown has been in 2 other movies we've reviewed. For a point each, name them.
Well, we haven't done Highlander. Damn it.
He keeps telling us what we haven't done.
I'm just going through my head.
I know.
Well, I can only think of one.
Well, say it so you get the point.
Shawshank.
That's one.
I forgot we did Shawshank. Did we do Pet Sematary?
No. The answer is A Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake. Question number 4. Isabel Flores is in love with Johnny. What is her nickname, and what was her rank/position when she died?
Dizzy, and she was a corporal?
Dizzy, yes. Corporal, no. Anything?
Private.
Nope, she was the squad leader.
Yeah, he promoted her up right before she died.
That's right. All right, final question. Who captured the brain bug, and what was his rank when he did it?
Private.
Private.
All right, I'll give you a tie for both of those. Well done, boys. 5 questions up, 5 questions down. John, you were the winner this week as you edged out the professor by 1 point. Congratulations, John.
The only good bug is a dead bug.
In the 23rd century, Earth is governed by the United Citizen Federation, a stratocratic regime founded generations earlier by veterans after democracy and social science brought civilization to the brink of ruin. Citizenship is exclusively earned through federal service, which grants rights like voting and procreation that are withheld from ordinary civilians. Humans, who are now spacefaring, conduct colonization missions throughout the galaxy, bringing them into conflict with a race of highly evolved insectoid creatures dubbed arachnids, or derisively, bugs. Against his parents' objections, teenage jock Johnny Rico enlists as a mobile infantryman to remain close to his girlfriend, spaceship pilot Carmen Ibanez. Their psychic friend Carl Jenkins joins military intelligence, while Isabel Dizzy Flores, who is in love with Johnny, deliberately transfers to his squad. Eventually, Carmen ends her relationship with Rico due to their diverging career paths and her growing feelings for her fellow pilot Xander Barkalow. During training, Rico impresses Drill Sergeant Zim, earning a promotion to squad leader. However, a mistake in a training exercise leads to the death of a squad member and the resignation of another, resulting in Rico's demotion and flogging. Disheartened, Rico quits but re-enlists after learning that an asteroid sent by the arachnids has destroyed Buenos Aires, killing millions, including his parents.
Would you like to know more?
All right, so this movie starts off with a opening narration or a recruitment video, as I kind of like to think of it. What'd you guys think of this whole bit? And just black screen, white letters on black, Starship Troopers, here we go.
I kind of appreciated the opening. It just got us right in there real quick, told us what we needed to know. It took me a sec, I think, the first time when I watched it to realize that we were in the future a little bit and then jumping back, because I don't think I caught that, you know, when that reporter is talking, when they actually go to the planet side and show that attack on the planet, and the reporter's talking, that it was Rico who ran in, and, you know, all of a sudden everything went to chaos. I had to watch it, I think, a second time before that clicked.
Yeah. And it's one of those movies where it starts and then comes full circle, like toward the end of the movie.
Yeah, because right after the news clips are done, then it says 1 year earlier.
And we are introduced to the characters, these high school students.
Did you get the impression of one of the things the director was going for was 90210 in space?
Very much so. I think because of the production design, it looked like 90210. It was bright colors, the teens running around the hallways. Yeah.
I was thinking the love triangle thing too.
Oh, sure.
I mean, even Carl, I don't know if you caught it, but in one scene kind of went for a kiss with Carmen and she turned her head. So even he had a thing for Carmen.
Oh, I think everybody there had a thing for Carmen.
Mm-hmm. I never watched any Beverly Hills.
Oh, you were missing out.
Definitely.
90210? Fuck yeah.
But what'd you think of like the classroom scenes and everything with the teacher kind of talking up the army and everything had labels on it from the military? And
oh, sure. We're introduced to Michael Ironside's character. He's a teacher. We see that he's an amputee and he doesn't have much of his right arm left. He asks Rico, what does it mean to be a citizen? And he gives him a textbook answer. And Michael Ironside looks at him and he says, what does that really mean to you? And Rico naturally doesn't really know, right? I think that Rico as a character is infatuated with Carmen. And if she says jump, he will say how high.
Mm-hmm.
They move along and we get to science class. Did you guys recognize who the teacher was?
No, but I saw that she had scarring on her face and she was probably blind.
Yeah, Rue McClanahan.
Oh,
Blanche from the Golden Girls.
I wondered that.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny that if you notice, they're dissecting those giant bugs, and in the end of the movie, that's the ones that are helping to kill Carmen or trying to kill Carmen.
We are then introduced to Neil Patrick Harris, and they are doing their best to recreate the scene from Ghostbusters. What did you guys think of this introduction?
It just felt a little silly to me.
A little bit. Like
Yeah.
there's really psychics out there.
Yeah, they just had to throw out there. They had to throw something in to tell us that he's psychic and that he's not going to play a big role in this movie.
Yeah. Well, he does at the end.
Yeah.
He does at the end.
I think they were trying to kind of give us the idea of here's this really innocent looking guy who's going to become kind of one of the hardest guys in the end.
Maybe.
I send people to die all the time.
I just take it as he was going to be top military because
Yeah.
he was super smart and a psychic, and that would come around.
I just figured being psychic, he could just read everybody's minds and know the test answers. So
You
it didn't
would
matter if he was smart or not.
Yeah, you would think.
Okay, but he doesn't necessarily impress me, the fact that he can't make Rico visualize what he is trying to tell him.
Right, but he
with
does.
the cards.
But he does send Cyrano up to mom.
Sure,
Yeah.
But that could be trained, right? If you think about it, not being him being psychic, but he's trained the animal to do that.
The whole point of I think that was to show how his powers are growing. Because remember, he said I can't do it yet, but in the end of the movie, he does direct Rico psychically.
Mm-hmm.
So what would they call that?
I don't know.
Oh, weird.
Now we're on to the football game.
Oh my God! If I ever
Jump
had,
ball.
if I have a problem with this movie, it all starts right here. And it's not because of the sport, and it's not even because of the acting or the athletes. It's the size of the fucking field.
Just tiny.
It's the size of my basement.
Well, it's supposed to be gymnastics combined with football.
Whatever it's supposed to be does not make up for the fact that the field is fucking tiny, and it takes me out of it every fucking time. And whenever Rico gets excited and he screams, they do something to the audio that it brings it way down. So his woohoos kind of sound like this. Woohoo!
Do you know what it instantly reminded me of?
What's that?
American Gladiator. With the little silver balls and
Oh,
the buckets.
sure.
and
Yeah. Hey, there's this great documentary on Netflix about
I've watched it.
Yeah. What'd you think of the game there, guy?
It was funny, but it was just so we could have our antagonist in Barcelo being introduced to us.
Right, because who doesn't stop to flirt with someone during the game?
Did you know that in the scene where Dina Meyer smacks Casper Van Dien upside the head, she really surprised him and smacked him? He didn't know it was coming.
Oh, no, I didn't
So
know
that was a genuine reaction in the movie.
nice. And so it's prom night, and we also get a chance to meet Rico's parents, and we find out that dad is firmly against him joining the Federation or whatever, and you will go to school, and you will, lead a normal life.
Speaking of foreshadowing, did you get something that his father says to him?
Yeah, I didn't get it until later on,
What is-
because you don't get it when you first watch it.
Yeah, because he said, I'd rather take 10 lashes than join the military.
Right, and it turns out that Rico does, in fact, get 10 lashes.
Yeah.
And it's a typical trope in movies. The father's against it, the mom's playing both sides, and then the son is just, being the son.
One of the things I guess was kind of a side story. I don't know if they were how blatant they were being with it or if they were planning on adding more, but we're supposed to get the impression that Rico isn't very popular with a lot of people because his parents are super rich, which means they never had to serve in the military. They are not civilians, but they get around that by being rich. In fact, Johnny Rico was given the name Rico, which is, of course, is that Spanish for rich?
I didn't get any of that.
Not even a little bit. So if that was their intention, I don't know where they directed it.
Well, you're supposed to get that from every time Johnny Ace, is that his name? Or Ace something or other?
Oh, Ace Levy?
Ace Levy.
Levy.
Every
Levy?
time he talks to him, he calls him Rich Boy.
Yeah, well, we know he's a rich boy,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah.
They're off at their prom celebration, and then we get to see everybody having feelings for each other.
Right. And, Dizzy comes out and just tells Johnny, I want you. And he's like, well, I want Carmen. And then Carmen's like, hey, this is Xander from the football game. And it's funny because I was thinking, why can't all four of them just get along? Right. I mean, it is 2197.
I don't know if it's wrong, but all I kept thinking was, I'd rather go for Dizzy.
I can see that. The next day, they're all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and they're all going to sign up to be in the military.
What'd you think of the recruiter who tells Johnny, the the mobile infantry made me the man I am today.
I thought that was funny.
The fact that he's missing an arm and 2 legs.
Yeah. And then he says, tells Carmen, we're going to need a bunch of great pilots. Congratulations. Carl comes over and goes, I got games and theory, which,
Military intelligence.
Yep. And then he looks at Rico and goes, what'd you get? And Rico, who scored a 35 on his math, infantryman. And then they deliver that line. I thought it was kind of a kick to the balls to him. Really.
Totally.
Maybe an eye-opener.
Well, I thought it was also interesting that he joined the Army. I mean, it's obvious from this point that he joined the Army just obviously to follow her. But as they're leaving, Carl tells him, this is probably the last time we're ever going to see each other.
Yeah, and then Carmen's like, oh, let's all be friends forever.
Yeah. Let's all agree to be friends.
Yeah.
No, that was Carl's idea.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I thought it was Carmen's.
I thought it was Carmen's too. But anyway. I did like Rico is struggling. Should I join? Should I not join? And he sees Mr. Rashek, and he says, what do you think? And what Mr. Rashek says immediately made me think of you, John. And from now on, when we ask or need to make decisions, this is what I'm going to tell you. Figuring things out for yourself is the only freedom anyone really has. Use that freedom. Make up your own mind. So there you go. And so now
we get a newsfeed reel, and these newsfeed reels are pretty funny. They got the soldiers showing the little kids, hey, here's our rifles, and there shows them a couple of them trying to fight over the rifle to get it.
Yeah, they got a handful of bullets.
Here's some bullets.
Yeah. I thought these news feeds were a good break from what I think of a movie that's 30 minutes way too long. So, but I did like these news reels to break it up.
And then I kept sprinkling us with, would you like to know more?
Yeah. And so now we're at boot camp, and we get to know what boot camp's like. And we've seen a lot of movies that do the boot camp thing.
They always do them the same, too. There's always that drill sergeant who comes out, and he's like, one guy has to be giggling, and he gets in trouble. Another person's like, come fight me, or he says, come fight me and show me what you got, kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So we meet Sergeant Zim, but the only difference with Sergeant Zim is his little examples that he gives to the rest of the group always ends with, medic!
Totally. And the way he's walking up and down the line instantly flashed me back to him as Hadley.
I was almost thinking of Officer and a Gentleman. It just reminded me of that when they first started up.
Let me stop you right there. You've seen An Officer and a Gentleman.
Yes, I have.
Color me impressed, comic book guy.
I like Lou Gossett Jr.
Who doesn't? I'm just saying, Richard Gere, Deborah Winger.
Dreamy.
Hey, listeners, Officer and a Gentleman for the comic book guy.
We also meet Ace Levy, our dog soldier, if you will.
Sure. They're all going after squad leader. And, Rico's like, I can be squad leader because he won the football game.
And she shows up. I like her initiation, her gumption that she's willing to take on Sergeant Zim immediately.
She just drops her shit and says, let's go. And she lands a punch.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Good
she
for her.
She surprised him.
Yeah, good for her. But ultimately, Zim gets the upper hand.
Did you catch the next scene where, Johnny and her are having the confrontation, the bruise on her neck?
I did actually.
Yeah.
Good attention to detail.
Mm-hmm.
So they go through the training, day one's over, whatnot. Did the shower scene surprise you guys?
Somewhat. It made me wonder, when did they decide that it doesn't really matter if you have gender-neutral bathrooms or not? Somehow in the past of this story arc, that came to be that let's just put everybody together.
Yeah, but in 1997, they weren't really doing that.
That was radical.
Yeah, so Verhoeven was like, we're in the future. This is probably how it's going to be.
Well, this is something he wanted to do in RoboCop, but he was never able to do.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought, you think about it, in the future, when you got men and women serving in the same groups and all that, maybe it just becomes normal. Plus, you're in a society where they've already revealed procreation and all of that. You have to be a civilian. You have to serve your time. So people aren't focused more on sexuality than anything else. So it's just another thing to them. But some of the shower scenes I thought was interesting when they were going around and asking everybody, why did you sign up? Why did you join up? And some of the reasons that people were giving were interesting. One person wanted politics. One person wanted to have a baby. Did you get the one about the guy who wanted to go to school?
Was that the Japanese guy?
He wanted to go to Harvard.
And,
That's right. Yeah.
And what did he say about the cost of Harvard?
Costs an arm and a leg.
Cost him an arm and a leg. And what happened to him on the first mission?
He lost his arm and his leg,
Yes, he got torn apart. And first he loses his legs, and then he gets ripped apart.
so he's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go. And Verhoeven's my kind of director, right? They go in for this scene, and he tells, everybody just get naked, and, we'll shoot the scene. And I think the gal who plays Dizzy's like, well, if it's so fucking easy, why aren't you naked? And so the director and the cinematographer, who was raised by nudists, got naked. And so they shot the whole thing naked. And, I mean, what better way to make your actors feel more relaxed? Never ask anybody to do anything that you're not willing to do yourself.
Casper Van Dien was driving his kids to school. I think one was 6, one was 8. And when he dropped the kids off, some kids at school freaked out. Apparently they had seen the movie Starship Troopers and started yelling, Johnny Rico, Johnny Rico. And his first question to the kids were, how the hell did your parents let you watch that movie? But later on, when his kids came home, they asked him, were you really completely naked in that movie? And he's like, yep, I was completely naked. And they said, how dare you do that to us?
Yeah, because that's what he was thinking of in 1996, 1997. And so we are still at boot camp, and
He gets a Dear John letter.
Video
or a
whatever.
disc, right? A Dear
Yeah.
John disc. And it's basically Carmen saying, I'm going to go career, and we probably won't last, so I'm going to break up with you.
Yeah, there's no future for us.
Right, so he gets kicked in the balls.
Yeah.
We have, we go back to Carmen after the Dear John letter, the Dear John disc, and we get to see that she's going to be the number 2 pilot for the ship. And, lo and behold, look who's here. Xander's here, too.
How convenient.
And then we're back to Rico, and Rico is doing very well with the laser tag game that they were doing.
Except they got pinned down. And Dizzy comes up with the idea of let's use one of our old jump ball plays.
Well, it was the same play that we just saw where all he does is run down the field and flip and catch the ball. But it works. And they make him squad leader. And, so he's on cloud 9.
Yeah. Until the live ammunition training session.
Yeah. And I think this scene, when I first saw it, really startled me because it was so unexpected.
Yeah, what the hell are you doing taking a helmet off?
Oh, so funny. So funny.
Yeah, I don't think I realized at first that was live ammunition they were going up against. So when the guy got his head blown off, it really surprised me.
Yeah.
They told us it was live ammunition.
Yeah, I don't think I was prepared for it.
And then the gal gets shocked, and as she's falling in return, she fires her weapon. Would his helmet have saved him?
It looked like he kind of got it right to the face.
Right. Like he
But-
went up and out his head.
Yeah.
And then Rico, medic!
Well, it's interesting, kind of, the actor who played the guy who got his head blown off, which, first of all, I didn't see him leaving the movie that early, so that's one of my oh fuck moments. And the actress that shot him in the head, well, they met on the set, dated, and now have a child together. They're still together.
Yeah.
Rico gets reprimanded.
I think my favorite part of them reprimanding him is when they're asking Rico what happened, and he says, did he take his helmet off? Did you tell him to take his helmet off? And he's all, sir, yes, sir. the guy who's in charge goes, are you an expert in helmet tech, whatever?
Repair,
Yeah, I mean, come on. I just thought that was funny. Yeah.
And I do like they kind of make the comment of, well, we could just kick him out, but we kind of need soldiers.
Yeah. And so he takes the flogging and he takes the whipping.
It was administrative punishment, not flogging.
Wow, it says flogging in the thing, my doodle.
10 lashes.
10 lashes. And, Zim being Zim,
Bite down on this, son. It helps.
because he sees something in Rico, because
Yeah.
the general dude's like, do you still believe in this kid? And he was like, yeah, I do. He fucked up. He made a bad decision and someone got killed and someone else washes out.
Next thing that happens is we're back on the ship, and Carmen and Xander, they are on third watch, and it is late night, boring, pretty much nodding to sleep. Then all of a sudden, here comes a giant asteroid. And the giant asteroid makes them, at the last possible moment, deviate just enough that the ship does sustain some damage, and that damage is minimal because of the expertise that these two pilots had shown.
Right. We are told early on that Carmen's really smart, and she even makes it a point to tell Xander, check out my coordinates. I rerouted us, and it's more efficient. But why wouldn't the computer come up with the most efficient route to begin with?
Who knows?
Because we needed to see how smart Carmen was.
Smarter than the computer?
Apparently.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, she is a nuclear physicist in Die Another Day. That's a different podcast for a different time.
That's true. I ponder if this asteroid is the one that ends up colliding and destroying Buenos Aires.
I think that is supposed to be our impression,
I think so, too.
which I have a whole bunch of issues about. But I guess the next thing is we go back to Rico washing out,
Yeah, he's done.
where he's quit.
He even calls home.
Calls home.
and that's where we find out the asteroid is
yeah.
hitting Buenos Aires.
Mom and Dad are like, don't worry about it. Come home. We're going to take care of it. Oh, how come it's getting so dark out? Because you're all about to die.
Well, here's my question, and this has been brought up even by like the director and cast and everything. Did the bugs actually send that asteroid, and did they target, Earth and all that, or was that something that the military somehow set up, let through the defenses to destroy Buenos Aires, to do more recruitment, to basically have an excuse to start their war? Because the war really starts after Buenos Aires. So who do you think was responsible for it? And I'll get the reasons why I think it wasn't the bugs is, first of all, to send it from that asteroid field by their home planet, the mathematics involved to actually hit Earth would just be crazy amount of mathematics. And I maybe they are capable of it, maybe they're not. It's also, according to the distance, would have taken about 56 million years for that asteroid to fly from that asteroid field to the Earth, to the planet. And there was also some speculation brought up in the movie that it was the humans going to the planets that had started the conflict with the bugs. So who do you think was really responsible for that asteroid?
The bugs.
You think so?
I go with the bugs too. And even though all that stuff floats out there and like that, I don't care. I'm just going with what the movie tells me.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's what the movie tells me. Nowhere ever does what they're saying come up.
Well, the other thing too, with all of their advanced technology, and maybe, those guns that could shoot the asteroids out came out after the whole Buenos Aires things. But before it hit Buenos Aires, there should have been some alarms going off, some sirens, something. You're telling me that they couldn't see an asteroid, 10 miles from Earth, 20 miles from Earth, 100 miles from Earth? They didn't know that it was coming towards Earth? There was no sirens, no warnings, no nothing?
Nope, there wasn't.
I think they wanted the deaths. I think they wanted to start the conflict, and they needed an excuse.
Well, there you go.
You know what to do. Come on, all you apes who want to live forever.
An invasion force is deployed to Klandathu, the Arachnids' home planet, but military intelligence underestimates the Arachnids' defensive abilities, leading to thousands of casualties. Badly wounded, Rico is rescued by Lieutenant John Rashek, his former high school teacher, but is mistakenly reported dead, devastating Carmen. Following his recovery, Rico, Dizzy, and squadmate Ace Levy join Rashek's elite unit, the Roughnecks. Rico's valor in battle earns him the rank of corporal, especially for taking down a gigantic tanker bug on Tango Irilla, and he develops a romantic relationship with Dizzy. Responding to a distress signal on Planet P, the Roughnecks discover an arachnid-ravaged outpost and are ambushed by the bugs. Carmen and Xander recover their surviving Roughnecks by dropship, but not before Dizzy is mortally wounded and Rico is forced to mercy kill the mutilated Rashek. The group returns to the fleet assembled in orbit above P, where Dizzy is eulogized.
Would you like to know more?
So the washout scene of Rico walking out and then the Buenos Aires news coming in, I liked how the commander and Sergeant Zim decide to let Rico come back in.
Is this your signature? Yes, sir. The dude turns his back. Doesn't look like it to me. But did you catch the conversation they were having just before he comes in? Zim wants to go to
He wants to go to combat.
he wants to go to combat, and the Colonel General dude's like, not unless you want to go back to private. You're staying right here.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then-
Foreshadowing?
Yeah, there you go. I thought of you, comic book guy.
We get a little war montage. I swear to God, they are looking so Nazi in their uniforms now.
One of these news programs or news interruptions that we get, and I don't know if it's at this point, is where they start to kind of drop the hints about the brain bug, that they're suspected that there's a brain bug out there. And I liked when they had the debate, the two people debating of one, she's saying that there's this higher intelligence and all that, and he's like, I find that an insult to, say that bugs have intelligence. Did that not kind of remind you of some of the debates going on today in politics?
Oh, absolutely.
I felt like, oh my God, they were ahead of the time, because it's exactly what we got going on.
They weren't ahead of the time. They were doing exactly what was happening then, which incidentally is still happening now.
The kids stopping the cockroaches.
Yes. Yeah.
With mayonnaise in these little packets, whatever they were.
do your part.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, did you notice though, like the mom or whatever it was to the side of the kids was so overly excited and exuberant that they were squashing the bugs?
I did. She was a little bit too
I
excited.
felt like she was on crack or something.
Yeah, probably.
Carmen and Rico happen into each other, and then after that, we get a little brawl taking place, and then they have the matching tattoos put on their shoulders.
Well, during that brawl, apparently Casper Van Dien really did punch the guy in the face and split his lip.
Yeah.
Oh, good for him.
So in an interview, the other actor said, yeah, he hits hard.
Yeah. And so Carmen and Rico have a moment, but that's all it is, because they got to go, and Rico's all pissed off now. And so what do? You get tattoos.
So now we're about halfway through the movie, and we're finally headed into combat.
Yes.
And I got to say, there's some pretty grisly deaths that take place over the next 4 minutes.
Was there one that stood out to you?
No, not necessarily. When the newscaster guy is being tortured by the bug, and the cameraman just continues to stand there and film it, it's like, and then the soldiers show up and they start firing, and the cameraman's still filming it.
Yeah. And in the beginning, we're getting the point of view of the camera, and now in this part, we're getting to see outside of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And
I liked how the camera guy was up so close to a guy getting killed. So he was obviously going to get, taken out next.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
I like the bit where in one of the newsreels, it shows them feeding a cow to the arachnid, but it's censored as it's ripping it apart. But then we cut to another feed, and there's bodies everywhere, without heads, without limbs, without faces.
That was an on-purpose thing, because they're trying to show that people don't like seeing animals mutilated, but the government was trying to desensitize them to the deaths of humans.
Yeah, well, it fucking worked.
Would you like to know more?
And so Johnny gets hurt, like we saw in the beginning.
He's mistakenly KIA'd.
When that, whatever it was from the bug comes down and goes through his legs, was that an oh fuck moment for you? Because that looked brutal to me. How did the leg stay on? That thing was so big.
I don't know, and that's what she said. But compared to all the other viscerations, I mean, it was kind of tame.
Mm-hmm.
I like when the bugs throw a body up in the air, and then they grab it, and then they rip it in half, and there were some clever ways that the humans were getting taken out.
Yeah,
So.
they were obviously just not prepared, which I thought was so funny with all of our weaponry in the military and all that the first thing they didn't do when they come to these planets is just carpet bomb the planets.
See, you are giving humans too much credit.
Like, you think they were too cocky at this point?
They were, and they even get called on it.
That's what the movie points out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because when they're flying in, these blue rays or these blue things of energy are supposed to be
Plasma
harmless.
blast, I think.
Yeah, but they're not. They're blowing ships up.
And the captain's like, "This is wrong. Something's not right here."
Somebody made a fucking mistake.
I felt like they were plasma poops from
Yeah,
the Beatles.
yeah, why though? Because it was coming out of their ass. They were shitting on them. Shit goes up, then comes down. And so clearly a trap. And
the casualties. Did you look at the numbers?
was it 130,000 or just 100,000?
So it was 100,000 in the first hour, But then when we have Carmen looking for Rico and she goes up to the big board and she types in his name, before she gets there, it's the casualties are 300,000. There's 21,000 missing in action, but only 2,000 wounded. Why are there so few wounded? And what do they say?
The bugs don't take prisoners.
Yeah.
Bugs don't take prisoners.
Yeah. Fucking brutal.
But which is funny because they say that because later on the bugs do take prisoners.
And so, Rico is dead, but he's not dead.
He goes to
the Empire Strikes Back water healing tank.
Bactine tank or whatever they call it.
Oh, is that what it is? Is it back? No, it's not Bactine.
Well, basically, they refer to it, even the director referred to it as the Luke Skywalker healing tank.
Yes.
That was just one of, I think, 2 or 3 Star Wars references they had in this movie. Did you catch the Millennium Falcon on the ship?
No.
Flying through space, one of the ships had a little Millennium Falcon parked on the bottom of it.
No.
They put that on purpose in there.
Yeah. If I ever go back and watch this movie, I'll look for it. And then we find out who saved Rico. He gets introduced. They get sent to the new squad, and they're part of the Roughnecks. And I thought it was funny that we know it's Rashek. They know it's Rashek. But later on, when they go into battle, doesn't it seem like Rashek goes, "Oh, yeah, you're fucking Rico"?
Yeah, I got that
Doesn't that
impression
seem weird?
too.
Yes.
I figured he hadn't really connected with any of his students. He was just there to help recruit.
Oh, well, what about that whole scene at the prom?
I think he just, he was just talking to another student.
Yeah, I don't.
Like,
But-
how much time had passed, too, is the question.
A year.
Had it been a year?
That's what it said 1 year earlier.
I chalked it up to that he is dealing with some PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. And so he's scarred with all of the death and carnage that he's seen.
But he does have a shiny new hand.
Yes, he does. And so there's this big tanker bug, and Rico jumps on the back of it, shoots a hole in it, drops a bomb in it. And, this whole time I was also thinking what you were thinking, John. You have all of these bugs running on the ground. Why are you not just dropping napalm and nukes? And
Which we finally get to see now.
Right.
They soften them up.
Yeah.
We finally get to see that.
Now, part of it I understand is if you watch some of the scenes, the bugs are mostly underground. They're hiding in the tunnels. But I would still, you think they could napalm into those tunnels or whatever. They don't need all the ground troopers to come in, if ever, to really have them come in and clear things out until everything is already wiped out.
That's kind of what I'm saying. So
I guess they do kind of reveal, especially for this planet, is that, or was it, the second planet, was that they suspected a bug or a brain bug there, and that's why they didn't want to destroy everything. They wanted to capture the bug.
So after Rico kills the big bug and
Tanker bug gets another
Rashek,
promotion.
Rashek gives him the promotion, we have some R&R time. And this is finally where Rico and Dizzy hit it.
Well, that's because Rashek finally says to him, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. She's basically offering it up. And what are you doing? Pining away from some other girl.
Yeah,
Take
if that's what you got out of his 3 lines, then kudos to you,
Well,
bud.
he was basically saying you could be dead tomorrow.
He's just saying, don't pass up a good thing.
Yeah.
And so
That's all
Johnny
he said.
and Johnny smartly doesn't.
Yeah.
However, it's kind of a kick to the balls, though, right? You have this great night, you're finally getting somewhere, and then the next day, she gonna die.
In
So-
your arms.
Yeah, but not before you have to shoot Rashek in the head. What did
He
you
shoots him
guys?
in the chest.
Well, whatever. What did you guys think of this whole ambush thing, or this whole setup at the outpost, and just this whole bit?
Well, it's another thing I don't think I caught the first time through was when they talked about, they showed the guy has gotten his brain sucked out, that the brain bug actually had forced him to send the stress call that lured him there. So, yeah, the bugs had planned all of it.
Yeah, yeah.
So what I don't get is, why are you walking to the outpost? Why aren't you just being airdropped down, with a drop ship? Just go fly straight to the camp.
Good question. I agree with you. And I think at some point you got to throw all logic out the window, because up in space, you're not going to have any flame. So how are all those fires possible?
I thought about that, and I was thinking that the fires are possible if there's leaking air from the
That's
ships.
true. The oxygen from the ships.
But they wouldn't last that long.
No.
So I'm just saying.
Well, I thought about it too, but I went, so what?
But yet, why are they not being airdropped right into the middle of the fucking outpost?
What'd you think of the general guy running around yelling, "We're all going to die"?
You knew he was going to die.
Yeah, and you knew he was going to be crazy when he got out of the fucking closet.
I liked how he became a smear.
Yeah. And then I like how Rashek's just like, sir, keep your fucking head on. And so we do find out it's a trap, and they're getting their asses handed to them. And
that is a lot of bugs.
There's a lot of bugs. And they call down for a pilot, and they say, well, you better have one crazy pilot. And they've been calling Carmen a crazy pilot from the beginning of the movie. So we know, here comes Carmen.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't know that Rico's still alive. But in the meantime, Dizzy gets it.
Yeah, which was another scene that kind of bothered me is, did you notice that one of the times she got spiked, the little spike thing was still in her? They pulled that thing out. If they had left that in, she wouldn't have bled out as much. But maybe the other wounds would have done her in, I don't know. But leaving that thing in would have stopped some of the blood flow.
Yeah, maybe.
Neither one of you have ever had a first aid CPR training class?
Yeah.
I have.
Well, that's one of the things they teach you, is don't take it out.
Yeah. That's what she said.
Not in 2197. Not when you're not being dropped into the middle of the outpost. Not when there's so much fucking fire in space.
The actress, Dina Meyer, she actually asked the director, why do I have any lines during this? Because didn't that bug just stab me a couple times through the lungs? Wouldn't I not be able to speak?
Well.
And he goes, you got to have some death words.
Yeah, you got to say goodbye, right?
Yeah.
Johnny never tells her he loves her. She tells him.
But she knows that.
That he does?
That he does not.
Yeah, maybe.
But she had him. You know,
and so she could die happy.
She could die happy because for a moment, he was hers.
That's right.
So did that scene at all elicit any emotions from you? Did you get any little tear in the eye?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that a serious question?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
No? Anything from you?
No.
Did you cry?
I didn't cry, but I thought it was a sad scene. I knew it was coming, but I felt bad for her because I kind of, you want to root for her.
Oh.
Well, we do have a little ceremony that happens right afterwards for her.
Very Star Trek-ish.
Very Star Trek-ish.
She actually returns, I think, in the third movie.
Oh, don't tell me that.
But she returns as a memory. She doesn't return as...
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. And I like how she's the only one in the entire military to get this kind of send-off.
Yeah, what's up with that? Well, then again, it was the only body brought back.
Oh, good point, Professor. Good point.
So she represents everybody that died down there on Planet P.
That's right.
I felt like she got her Spock send-off.
Then we have Carl showing up looking like Joseph Goebbels.
Yes. And he's like, there's a brain bug out there, guys.
And he promotes Rico to lieutenant.
I like how Carl refers to him as, now listen here, boys and girls.
Yeah.
Like he's so much older than them.
You're it until you're dead or I find someone better. Welcome to the Roughnecks.
Jenkins, now a high-ranking colonel, reveals the Roughnecks were deliberately ordered into the trap, justifying it as a necessary sacrifice to confirm the existence of a brain bug, an intelligent arachnid strategically directing the others. He assigns Rico command of the Roughnecks and field promotes him to lieutenant, instructing him to return to P and capture the brain bug. As the battle commences, Carmen's ship is destroyed by the arachnids, leaving her and Xander stranded in an escape shuttle that crashes into an underground tunnel system. The pair are captured by the arachnids, and the brain bug uses its proboscis to consume Xander's brain, absorbing his knowledge. Rico directs his squad to complete their mission while he, Ace, and their squad mate Watkins rescue Carmen and hold the arachnids at bay with a miniature nuclear bomb. The brain bug escapes while the arachnids attack and fatally wound Watkins, who sacrifices himself by detonating the bomb while his teammates escape. On the surface, they learn that Zim has captured the brain bug, and the assembled troops rejoice as Jenkins psychically detects it's afraid. A propaganda broadcast details how the brain bug is being evasively studied to learn its secrets and ensure humanity's victory. The advert encourages viewers to enlist and do their part in the war so they can become like Carmen, now a captain of her own ship, and Rico, who enthusiastically leads his troops into another battle. Roll credits. So they just got their asses kicked, and they find out it's a trap, and Jenkins comes down and says, yeah, dude, we totally set you up. But the good news is we found the fucking brain bug. So you're going back.
Going back to Cali.
And now it's Rico's Roughnecks.
That's right.
And we get to see his raw new recruits, all the little kids that are now with him.
Right.
They look even younger than before.
You have Carmen's ship ended in the middle of the drop-off. Carmen's ship is hit, and it's split in half. I thought that was a pretty good-looking split, looking at all of the different decks on the ship. We got two different perspectives of it, and I like the way that it looked.
Yeah.
One thing I was watching for was you notice like when they went into the ships, you could see people getting sucked out.
Yeah.
But when they went in the distance and they showed the split ship cut in half, I didn't see any people floating around.
I saw a couple.
I
you?
saw a couple.
You got to look really hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they were there. And so the ship gets destroyed, the captain gets killed, and Carmen and Xander got to make an escape, so they get into a shuttle, and they crash land on the planet.
But they do get their distress signal overheard by Ace.
Right. And he tells Rico, and so they start to make their way that way. But Rico says she's dead.
Because it cuts to static, and then from there, you have Watkins saying, "So are we still sending somebody?" And then he tells them, "No, she's already dead." And so they continue on with their mission.
Right.
And it's not until they get down into the tunnels where Rico has a hunch to go a different direction, in the thought that he thinks that maybe Carmen might be down there.
Did you guys think that was odd at first?
Yes.
I thought at first that it was just that still he loved her and he just had a good guess at that she's, I've got to go find out for myself.
Sure. I thought it was a little weird, but I got to say I kind of like the payoff at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It was a nice little wraparound.
But he does send the rest of his troops on, and he asks for 2 volunteers.
One of my thoughts was when Carmen's crashing her ship and it hits the side of that mountain and goes through that mountain, they had no idea they were going to be able to go through that mountain in tunnels. I felt like they both would have pissed themselves right there.
True that. I thought there's no way they get through that side of the mountain. They're bug splatter on the side of the mountain.
Yeah.
But that's not how it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So that's okay. And now we get to introduce to
The brain bug.
what'd you guys think of this big fucking thing?
That was a good-looking creepy thing.
It was creepy.
It was pretty creepy with all the eyes and then that proboscis thing that comes out.
Yeah, that wasn't
Didn't look sexual at all.
not at all. Not at all.
What'd you think of the goop and everything and
Again, not sexual at all.
Especially the mouth where it comes out of.
the big vagina?
Again, not sexual at all.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Verhoeven.
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys think of the bit where Xander gets it?
Did it kind of warm your heart a little?
No, why?
Because he was kind of a douche the whole movie.
What made him douchey?
Going after another guy's girlfriend in the beginning when he basically said she's fair game. So just treating her like a piece of meat. And other than that, just starting the fight with him and over a girl. He just kind of gave me a douchey vibe the whole movie.
You didn't like the way his hair looked.
That's what it was.
That's what
yeah,
it was.
he didn't like anyone moving in on Casper's girl. Yeah. Apparently you were never in high school. Yeah, I didn't think he was douchey. I think he comes around. I think he starts off as douchey, but after when at this bit when he's gonna get it, I mean, he gives Carmen the knife. He wants her to protect herself.
I did find that.
I think I think he really does like Carmen.
Oh, he does. I think he is infatuated from the beginning.
And she's not with Rico anymore.
Yeah.
So
Didn't stop him before though.
well, so what?
So you're still hung up from the football game. That's where they first meet. The football game.
Yeah.
That's where you're hung up.
Oh yeah.
This guy cannot let things go.
No.
And that's okay. That's who he is. But Xander does get it. What did you guys think of this bit? What did you think of this effect?
That's quite the ugly way to go.
But I thought it looked pretty good.
With
Yeah.
the brain going through the straw.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
gross, and you go, yeah, it's
Yeah.
fucking gross.
Face compacting.
Yeah.
And then you see the brain bugs, and it looks like it's just something from a straw.
Yeah.
Didn't they
It's
also have, like-
proboscis.
It kind of had like a sound like it was going through a straw too.
Oh, it was very. Yeah, you're good at that, buddy. Good job. Good job. And
Just before Carmen is to suffer from the same fate, God bless her, with the knife, she gives that thing a nice little whack.
the thing comes right off. What'd you think of that? That's pretty fucking gross.
Yeah, that was good though.
Well,
Yeah.
it started to spew out the whatever it was.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. And Rico and his team find Carmen.
He comes to save the day.
Watkins gets injured, but he's going to pull the Vasquez and all the other movies where the guy's not going to make it. So he's going to set the bomb off to give everyone a fighting chance.
Yeah, he's staying behind.
Yep.
Didn't he sound like Hudson?
A little bit.
Oh, you want some?
Yep. So when Rico and Party make it out of the cave, they see that the brain bug actually has been captured.
Here comes Carl.
I kept thinking throughout this movie, when they kept talking about these nukes, obviously there must be some kind of mini nuke, but how do you run away from a nuke explosion?
Very carefully.
No, very quickly.
I'll say very fast.
Very nice. They catch the brain bug. They're going to start learning about the enemy. Carmen gets her own ship.
Well, we learned too.
Rico's now the man.
What'd you think of the tie-in at the end here, coming around, that it was Zim that caught the brain bug and gets all the credit?
Oh, I thought that was funny because they make it a point to call him private.
Yeah.
And they already said it earlier, So I thought it was very fitting and, good for him. He just wanted to do his part and he got it done.
So just before this, we do get the reveal that Carl was most likely responsible for sending Rico down the other cave shaft to get Carmen.
But it's classified.
Yeah.
I thought that was a nice little touch too.
And then it bugs me every single time I watch the movie. Everybody's happy, everybody's smiling. You have Carl on one side, you have Johnny on the other, and Carmen, she has her arms around, and all three of them are smiling, and she has a 1 foot hole through her chest that she just feels better with now.
I thought that too when they were running through the caves and everything. At no point does she she's moving her arm around. She's even using the gun. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. She has this giant hole in her shoulder.
Fire in space, guys. That's all I'm going to say. Fire in space.
So
the movie ends with hope. Hope that we are learning about the enemy and that we will win.
More propaganda movie.
This
fodder.
War. That's right.
And you have your last little sexual reference of that thing going into the brain bug.
Censored.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
So, Starship Troopers.
They'll fight and they'll win.
Have you guys seen the sequels?
No, and I have no desire to. Zero.
I have seen at least a couple of them once.
Would you like to know more?
In fact, I think I even just watched one of the last ones that came out because I think there's 5 total.
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
Why?
I know.
Why?
I think of this kind of like the Tremors vibe, right? Tremors was good. It didn't need sequels, but it got 12 of them. Starship Troopers was decent and passable, but it didn't need 1,800 sequels.
No, they obviously these movies were just money plays to try to get a little bit more cash on the cult status of the first movie. Which you're right. They weren't needed and they really don't add much more to the story.
I agree.
Speaking of Tremors, Phil Tippett is responsible for creating these creatures digitally. And I guess that he was also creating the Tremors creatures at the same time.
Yeah. These creatures, the design was originally supposed to be the Shriekers in Tremors.
Oh, really?
From the first, they were going to use them in the first movie as Shriekers. But they decided for some reason against it, and that's how they got used for this movie.
Oh, well, there you go.
And listeners, I don't know if you know Phil Tippett's other work. Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't, and you just don't know that you do. But he is largely responsible for our graphics that we get in Jurassic Park.
Phil Tippett. There's a documentary.
Yes, about the Star Wars universe.
No, it's specifically about Phil Tippett.
It is specifically about Phil Tippett because
was that in the Industrial Light and Magic one that's on Disney? I thought there was one that was just solely
Phil Tippett.
Yeah,
because I do remember listening to that story.
Yeah,
curious.
Anyways, Phil Tippett, ladies and gentlemen, master of visual effects.
Did you know we were supposed to get a remake of this movie?
I had heard something about that a long time ago.
The plans for it pretty much got shelved around COVID. It was going to be a movie that was going to be more based off of the book and more pro-military and less kind of making fun of the military.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, man. You could be all gung-ho military and see that message in this movie.
And certainly it's not the first time that a movie deviates from its origin from a book.
Right. So, I don't know. I don't know how many different ways you think you want to tell this story or how many different ways you think you need to tell the story. I think the story is pretty cut and dry.
I think John just wants a longer shower scene.
Who doesn't?
I was just about to say that. Thank you.
And now it's time for John's. Hey, John, isn't this usually where we do Precious Moments?
Yes, it typically is, but we were thinking since it's a brand new year, maybe we try something new. So I was looking for some ideas for a movie out there that I could use as an analogy for any movie we review. So listeners, if you have an idea of a movie you think I should use, or maybe a series of movies I can rotate and use to compare our, the movies we review future, please go ahead and send them to us. You can use our form on our website that you can submit movies to send us the movie ideas that you'd like me to use as analogies. Could be something like Wizard of Oz or whatever. Give us some ideas. We'd love to hear them.
All right. I have a request. I have an idea. Do you want to hear it?
I guess.
I want you to compare every movie we review to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That is a great suggestion. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that with all the movies that I have submitted into the helmet.
Oh, you son of a bitch. Used it against me. All right. What do you guys think? You guys ready to rate this flick?
I'm ready to rate this flick. John, are you ready to rate this flick?
Sir, I am locked, cocked, and ready to review this movie. Sir.
I like that one.
That was pretty good.
That
was pretty good.
Yeah, I am pretty impressed with that. And I think, getting off, should we start rating these instead, giving these grades? Because for that particular one, I am going to give you a fucking solid A-.
I'm right there at an A-.
That was good.
I have to admit, that kind of hurt a little.
Hey, Professor, how do we do our ratings?
We do our ratings on a scale of 1 to 5 fucks. 5 fucks is a movie that we think is cinematic gold. A 1 fuck movie is a movie where we watch it and you're done and you go, I'm never going to watch that again.
And what's a 0?
A 0 fuck movie is, oh, for shit's sake, what the hell? Why did you make me? I want 2 hours and 9 minutes of my life back.
Or in other words, we just don't give a fuck. All right, Professor, your movie, you're up.
Starship Troopers is a movie that I have known for a long time. I saw it a long time ago. There was a website that I used to follow many years ago where they would track the weekly movie earnings, and the guy just did it as a little pet project, and I would occasionally ping him with something or other. And one of the things that I was struck by was this is one of his favorite movies. And I said, are you serious? How can this be one of your favorite movies? And he responds back with, I just like it. And I have come to be kind of sort of in that camp as well, that I just kind of like it. It's kind of a guilty little pleasure. The characters are nothing extraordinary. The actors, I don't know them from many other places. I know my Clancy Brown, I know my Neil Patrick Harris and my Michael Ironside, but the rest of them, I only know them just for this. The action sequences that take up maybe almost half of this movie are just compelling to watch. The deaths are so gruesome, and the gore is so over the top. It is a classic example of a Paul Verhoeven movie. It's not my ticket that I want every time, but every once in a while, I find it interesting how much I'll just sit there and be captivated by it. The characters' story arcs, they're passable. The characters, how they end, I'm glad that not everybody makes it out alive because they shouldn't, because it's a war story. The militaristic attitude that the movie conveys is captivating to watch through all the little mini commercials. It is kind of a long watch, though, and I ponder, geez, I guess it could be shorter. I think for me, I'm going to give this movie 3.75 fucks.
3.75 fucks from the Professor.
Sir, would you like me to go next? Sir?
Sir, no, I will be going next. Sir, do you get me?
I get you. Sir.
Yeah, keep shaking your head. Keep shaking your head. Starship Troopers. I remember when I saw it way back when, and I thought it was fun. And, you know, for all the messages it has, it's fine and dandy. To me, it's another science fiction war movie. I guess in my head, it's trying to be Aliens. It's trying to be movies that we've kind of seen. And the thing about Paul Verhoeven is that he does do a lot of things that are over the top. If you look at his other movies, like we've said, RoboCop and Total Recall specifically, they're just kind of fun rides. And I would love to get behind Starship Troopers, but the sad fact is, for me, it's just way too fucking long. And I was losing interest. And by the time we get to Rico rescuing Carmen and the end of it, I'm just kind of checked out. And, you know, the effects were good. The acting is passable. The set design, it was fine. The score was very action movie-y. But I think at the end of the day, Starship Troopers isn't going to be a movie that I will probably go seek anytime soon. If it's on, I'll probably skip it. So for those reasons, I'm giving Starship Troopers 2.75 fucks. Sir, it is now your turn, sir.
Sir, thank you, sir. So, brand new year, Don. Do you want to guess what my rating might be?
I'll give it a shot. Starship Troopers. Science fiction, fascism, war, and boobs.
Boobs.
3 fucks. Final answer.
The first time I watched Starship Troopers, it was a fun, action-filled gore fest of a movie that gave the impression it didn't take itself too seriously. It was like watching an A movie trying to be a B movie. And I get the director was trying to give a critical viewpoint of where society might be heading with fascism and things like that. Now, when I watch this movie today, that's not a message I got the first time I watched it. This new viewpoint makes it almost an original film for me and a whole new beast of a movie that I find myself feeling a bit guilty for enjoying certain parts as much as I do. But at the same time, I also appreciate the movie in a different light for how the director gets his message across and gives us something to think about long after the movie ends. The casting in this movie, it was a little subpar. It was okay. I didn't feel that there was anyone in the main cast who really stood out above anyone else, and that couldn't have been replaced with any other actors. Although I did feel like, as I mentioned earlier, Dina Meyer did a great job with some non-verbal cues showing us her feelings towards Rico. We could feel what she was feeling without her ever saying anything. And her death, while a bit over the top, still does kind of give me that little tear-up feeling. Clancy Brown, you can never go wrong with Clancy Brown. And Michael Ironside, well, he's always amazing, even though he's always delivering the same character. The CGI worked well. I didn't find it distracting, as can happen from over-CGI'd movies. The aliens looked believable and menacing. The space scenes looked okay, but a little hokey, but that was kind of a sign of that time. Overall, it's a fun watch with a reason to revisit if you haven't in a while, but if you have seen it recently, it's not really a movie you need to go back or that you long to see again. If you go into the movie with a different viewpoint, watching it for specific fascist cues, it does become an entirely different movie. So for those reasons, I'm giving Starship Troopers 3 fucks.
Nice. Well, there you go. With 3.75 fucks from the professor, 2.75 fucks from me, and 3 fucks from the comic book guy, that gives Starship Troopers an average of 3.2 fucks, which now puts it in the 22nd spot, tied with Ratatouille, Galaxy Quest, Red Dawn, The Last Samurai, and Bloodsport. It is slightly better than Catch Me If You Can, Flash Gordon, and The Untouchables, and slightly worse than RoboCop, Roadhouse, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and Chef.
And to start off the new year, Don, your batting average, you are starting out the new year at 775.
Well, I'm 1 for 1. That's 100%.
But overall,
overall.
overall.
It's a brand new season.
So I got rid of my 69?
Yes.
Oh,
But you went up. You went from 769 to 775.
fair point.
So yes. So for this season, you're batting 1,000.
All right. That is going to wrap it up for this episode of Three Guys in a Flick. If you would like to know which movie we are going to be reviewing next, please check out the website. Speaking of which, John, where can they find us?
Well, they can find us at threeguysinaflick.com, where we go ahead and post all of our podcasts, show notes, and anything else we feel like. There's also a form on there where you can go ahead and submit a movie you would like us to review next. It's also a great place to go and, like we mentioned earlier, suggest what you would like us to do for our future Precious Moments. What movie should we compare all of the movies we review to for that little segment that we do? You can also find us at all of social media, as well as any place that hosts podcasts. And something we'd like you to do, if you are listening to us on Spotify, Podbeam, whatever podcast channel you are listening to, please go ahead and give us a like or a comment or something. We'd really like to push up our listener base for this year.
All right. I just want to thank Ashley P. for submitting Starship Troopers. We had a lot of fun watching it and discussing it. We hope you have fun listening to it.
Hopefully you weren't yelling at the radio too much.
And if you have a comment, let us know if you agree or disagree with any of the three guys. I also want to thank anyone who listens and who has submitted a movie. If you keep listening, we'll keep recording. For Three Guys in a Flick, I'm Don.
I'm John.
And I'm Ken. Thanks for listening. Would you like to know more?
I just want to thank Casper Van Dien for taking the time and sharing his stories with us. Hopefully you won't be coming to hunt us down. But just in case you do, Ken's address is 153. This bit kind of made me laugh when they're dissecting the bug. What science class doesn't make you wear gloves?
I don't know.
I guess one that's when you're doing bugs.
Oh, for fuck's sakes, you guys are killing me. Moment of truth. What do you got?
You want to hear mine first?
Yeah.
Wait.
Let me try and guess. Starship Poopers.
Close.
Starfish.
Starstrip Poopers.
Oh, I like the Starstrip. I don't know if Poopers.
But I like
fits.
your Starfish Poopers.
Right,
That'd be
because
good.
doesn't Peacemaker say, isn't starfish slang for butthole?
Yeah.
I like it.
I feel like we're in the wrong business.
We should be naming porn movies.
We should be making them.
Oh, interesting.
We already got our
idea.
star here.
That's a hot take. Who, Professor?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Listeners, the Professor really, really wants Showgirls. So let's throw Showgirls in there.
No.
Talk about absurd. He's like,
Okay.
no, he's like, shut up, dude. Maggie listens to this. All right. May all of your days and nights be filled with happiness. All right. Fuck off. Good night.
23rd century dies. So all the behind. Watch the days go by. All is well. 23rd century dies.